Ross Bolen Podcast.
You better listen.
Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back again as always with your co-host, Chris Coulson. Chris, what's up?
What's up, man? How you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty well. If you're new here, our podcast has been around for a few years now. We're a comedy show with a focus on mental health, talking music, history, sports, animals, current events, and more. I also just got my hair cut. Feeling funky fresh.
Looking funky fresh.
Going to see the new Christopher Nolan movie Tenet in a socially distanced IMAX tonight. Covered head to toe in tequila-based hand sanitizer with a Scream mask on. Can't fucking wait.
Does the tequila hand sanitizer trigger anything for you? Has it been so?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Is your tolerance so low now that you feel it a little bit? You get a little tingly?
No, but having not had alcohol or really been around tequila at all in like almost 3 years, other than when I'm at like a Mexican restaurant, and even then, like not in 2020 have I been at a Mexican restaurant in a big group with other people who were slamming margaritas or whatever.
And there's a difference in like being around.
So I haven't smelled tequila in forever. And the first time that I went to, it was my pharmacy at Randall's, a grocery store, that I got hit with the tequila-based hand sanitizer. I was like, dear God. The only thing it triggered within me was like remembering how horrific tequila is.
I'm a big tequila guy.
Yeah. Chris has not gotten a haircut.
No.
As you can see on youtube.com/Bolen Media if you are watching our show instead of just listening. And man, it is making me yearn for my formative days when I just had a freaking mop up top.
Or maybe I have gotten a haircut, and you just have to tune into youtube.com/Bolen Media to see that haircut.
No, he hasn't.
You'll never know.
He hasn't.
No, I haven't.
I'm telling you, he hasn't.
The lechuga is flowing. The lettuce has arrived.
Yeah,
The
it's
flow is
beautiful, but
unreal.
it's not good for the heat that we've had here the last couple months, though, the long hair. It's tough, dude. It's tough during the summers. I remember.
It is tough during the
Because
summers.
for the first, all right, so I guess from birth through, 14 years old, my mom took care of my hair.
Okay.
Right? And it was normal. I just
Wait,
had a normal little boy haircut. I don't know. Fucking somewhere. 12? I don't know.
Okay.
And then I just had the same, stoner white doofus haircut that you have now.
Sure.
For up until I was 26, probably.
Okay.
I talked about one of the first episodes of this podcast, or way back in the day, finding an adult barber and figuring out how to get my hair cut for the first time. And having had because I had terrible haircuts. I won't lie to you. Every time I got my haircut, when I came back from the haircut, people were like, you look like Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber.
I have seen
because I have straight hair, man.
Yeah.
It grows out long and straight. You have way more curl and fluff to you than I do. Okay.
Yeah. When my hair is short, it's a lot straighter. It only gets wavy and fluffy when it's gotten longer like this. Usually, as I've gotten older, it's gotten fluffier as well.
Well, I could out you for part of your strategy though that does cause fluffiness if I wanted to.
That's true. You can out me, but also you've seen my hair when I don't blow dry my hair and just let it naturally air dry.
The only reason I'm going to out you here as a guy that blow dries his hair is because I used to be a guy that blow dries his hair.
Nothing against guys that blow dry.
It's because when you have the mop, dude,
of these luscious locks.
Well, and when you have the mop, it's 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
In particular,
it can't be just laying flat on your body.
And you can't just have damp ass mop head, bro. You have to
get
it. You want it dry and fluffed out, so it's got more air.
Well, that's
room
the
to
biggest
breathe.
thing for me. Eventually, if I let it air dry, I can fluff it with my hands and let it go, and it'll naturally look like this when it air dries 45 minutes later.
Eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Or I could do it in 5 minutes with a hair dryer.
But it does get when you do the blow dryer, it gives you a little more volume.
Voluminous.
Than if you let it naturally dry.
Well, yeah, of course. I do give it some volume, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
You blow dry it the opposite way and then fold it back over.
I did it for years, in high school in particular. And it was like a dark secret.
Ross did say he was looking for somebody 10 years younger. Him 10 years ago. The hair was included in the package.
It was. But for real,
I
remember when some of my friends started to find out that I blew dry my hair.
Oh, it's something that I've
in
been
high school.
self-conscious about. Don't get me wrong.
I remember I took shit.
Summer camps, no sir. The hair dryer did not go with me to summer camps.
Nah, man. I didn't take it to the
That
fucking
one was
locker
just
room
had.
in summer baseball or whatever.
That one was hats and short hair the whole time. But
Did
also,
I say on the show that my fucking high school baseball coach friended me on Facebook the other day?
No.
I don't think I did. But like Facebook does have a purpose still, and it's reconnecting with your high school and middle school teachers and coaches.
The coach that like hated you?
No, this dude was dope.
Oh, okay.
He was badass. He actually was like really smart, not just like your no offense to high school coaches, but like the stereotype of a high school coach is that you're a dumbass.
And a PE teacher,
yeah, just generally, like that's a very specific type of dude, like a meathead type of dude.
Yeah.
And he was not that. He was a bit of a nerd. Like he taught biology, and he's a principal now. And I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know. Because I hit him immediately when he friended me on Facebook. I had to download the Facebook Messenger app.
Oh, really?
Because you can't just send a message through the regular Facebook app.
Why do they do that?
Because Zuckerberg wants you to have another app, so that he can double monitor everything that you do. And so I sent him a message, and I was like, Coach, I've got this podcast, and you've got to come on it. And I like the thought crossed my mind. I was like, is it sad that I may not have been the first person who's hit him and been like, Coach, I've got this podcast, and you've got to come on it. So then I felt the need to validate myself, and I was like, and here are some of the guests I've had. And I sent him like Lance McCullers, because he was a pitcher and played in the minor leagues, and I was like, oh, he'll be impressed by that. So I sent him like Lance, and I sent him Arian Foster because he's a Houston guy.
Sure.
And he responded back like, yeah, I'll have to see because of what I do. For a living.
Yeah, sure.
Saying like he's a high school and then I was just like, damn, man, like.
I mean, but to be fair, you probably, as a high schooler, if my principal went on a podcast with a co-host that was dropping like fuck, shit, bitch, and other words like that, like as a high school student, I would think it's dope, but like.
Parents would not think it was dope,
yeah,
bro.
they would not think it's
like if a high school principal goes on Joe Rogan, parents are gonna be like, "What the hell is going on
why
here?"
Are you yeah, exactly.
In the same vein, so I get it. It just like
you'd get mad clout with the TikTokers and Instagrammers of the high school, though, guaranteed.
For you to be the coolest
100%.
principal in town.
Absolutely.
But it just like hurt my soul to absorb that. Like I was like, man, my high school baseball coach doesn't know if he can come on my podcast because he's a principal of a school and he doesn't want to get in trouble.
You could give him the blur face.
And the fucking
witness
deep throat
style.
voice
witness
cover
protection
thing.
style.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of haircuts, a haircut was the reason I quit baseball.
I know. Yeah.
Eventually. I was told to get a haircut when this was during my mop phase. So I got a haircut and I came back the next day and our coach told me it wasn't good enough, basically, that I needed to get another haircut. And I was like, fuck you, I'm out.
To be fair, I have a good haircut when I cut my hair. Like, this is my strategy.
You're saying you're not where I was.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you can be the judge of it. Well, hopefully I can.
I can't. That's the problem. I can only judge my hair.
Sure, I guess so. I mean,
and I guess women's hair. Not like their haircuts, but like what I'm saying is I don't look at dudes and judge their hair.
Sure.
I don't give a bad haircut, good haircut. It's never like the only time it'll strike me if I'm like that dude has phenomenal hair, and even then I'm like I don't go nuts about it like some people do. Some people are crazy about hair.
I'm not crazy about hair, but like one of my buddies, I remember this just recently. I don't know, probably 3 or 4 months ago. He posted a picture on Instagram. Had just gotten a haircut, and it was a really good haircut. So I commented, "Dude, hair's looking sharp." I mean, I appreciate a good haircut.
But that's your bag. Because that's your bag.
Okay,
I compliment people on shit, just not their hair.
It is my bag, 100%.
Unless you're a female, and then I know, like, because it's different. Like, then I notice your hair.
Well, just because, like you were saying, it took you until you're 26 to find a good haircut. So I appreciate other men my age that have found a good haircut. I mean, that's going above and beyond.
See, at your age, I hadn't even figured out how to cut my own fucking hair, so I definitely didn't care about anybody else's and wasn't trying. I guess it's just I'm never trying to pass judgment.
Okay.
I'm saying the only time I notice hair at all is if you're a female, just because I'm a straight male. That's it.
My haircut strategy is purely economic. I cut it very short, not very short, but I would say it's significantly shorter than this, and then I let it grow all the way out. It's like a 7-month process.
Yeah, I remember making this argument.
But okay, I'm not making. Okay, all right.
It saves money. I cut it short, then I grow it for a year and a half, and then I go back.
Okay. People like the lettuce. There are people out there.
I'm not knocking the lettuce. At all.
Okay.
Even in the slightest.
Okay.
I was just saying, in fact, I'm saying that your hair makes me yearn for the days of yorn. Is that right? I can hear Mike laughing on the other side of the wall. I got another haircut point.
Okay.
Bruce and Bella got a little haircut over the weekend.
They did. They look so handsome.
And it's important with these awesome. First of all, thank you to the sexy lady who hooked them up with the summer cut, because these poor dogs have been sweating their tits off all summer. And in fact, they're shaking in their boots right now, no doubt, due to the righteous thunderstorm occurring outside. We've got like a gnarly lightning and thunder situation going on here, and I love it.
Yeah.
Huge fan of thunderstorms.
And the lighting in the studio today is a little different. It's very cozy vibes with the thunderstorm going on outside.
We're yellowed, a more like calm.
Yellowed?
Lights. Yellowed out. Mellow
Chill,
yellowed.
relaxing.
Yeah. But the
Acting all
Aussies,
cool.
they grow these fucking skirts off their asses.
Yeah.
They get ridiculous when they haven't had a haircut in too long, and they literally like are walking around in the skirts like fucking flipping back and forth or whatever.
Did you see that viral video of the goat that had the wagon on her? And
No.
oh, you need to look that up. She was moving.
That doesn't sound like a thing I need to Google though. Like the goat with the wagon.
I think you need to Google it.
I just don't.
Those are like the skirts. They like bounce up and down.
Yeah, when they get their
long
ass
enough.
cut finally, they have this like, because they have the stubby little tails, right? It's like a little nub, like the little that thing. And when they get their tail, like they look like little bears because they're just rounded. It's not like your classic dog with a big tail that wags hanging off. They look like little bear asses, like BEAR, like a bear.
Yeah.
So I often call them bears, little bears.
They are kind of like little bears.
That's what I call them sometimes.
Little bears that they attack. Oh, earlier today, you were walking back to sit down in the chair, and they just all of a sudden spontaneously started barking at the window, and you looked out there, and there was nothing. Well, what you missed was the male woman drove by in the car, so I think they have the car memorized now.
Oh, they know, dude. They know the delivery cars, bro.
Oh, really? They go nuts for those shits.
So I got this fucking this big ass window at the front of my house that looks out to the front yard. Okay, and then there's like a couch and a chair in that sitting room area. They chill in there and they look directly out the window and they watch everything all day. They're herding dogs, right? So they think they're like responsible for, I don't know, the comings and goings of everyone and everything in the world.
Yeah.
So they just stare out the window all day and they bark at anybody that passes by, and they've memorized like UPS, USPS, FedEx, any type of delivery truck. They go batshit.
Oh, yeah.
So it just happened to have driven by and I missed it.
It's really cute because Bella, when they're standing on their hind legs, Bella's like probably 3 inches shorter than Bruce, but Bella stands on this little wooden stand and Bruce stands on the bare ground, so their heads are perfectly level looking out the window.
She gets on that like piece of furniture I've got over there. They're fucking crazy.
The best is when Bruce attacks the cabinet where the TV is. That's
jumping up and down
on
his hind legs.
It's hysterical.
So my big living room TV has an entertainment center below it or whatever, and it's like my whole house is like mid-century modern. So we have a bunch of like 70s style, just straight up wood furniture that look like I don't know enough about. It's called G-Plan furniture. A lot of the stuff in my house is from G-Plan. Shouts to G-Plan, not a sponsor, because I paid full price for all of it, and fucking furniture. Anyway. Bruce, when he sees any animal or hears or a commercial comes on, he does this too, memorizes the commercials. He knows which ones have dogs in them.
Really?
So it doesn't take like getting to the part with the dog.
He's
if the
just
commercial
ready for
starts,
it.
For commercials that get run over and over during the NBA or NFL season, he's aware of them already. Like he learns them after a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And what he does, he runs up to this piece of wooden G-Plan furniture. He plants his front legs on the top of it as high as he can, his back legs on the ground, so he's standing straight up like a marmot or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a marmot.
Prairie dog?
Prairie dog.
Sure.
And then he just
I think a marmot's like a type
up
of
and down and barks as if literally he is in a dogfight with another dog right then and there.
Absolutely. No, it's quite hysterical. And sometimes he'll get a toy in his mouth while he's doing it.
And
then
that's
he'll
for self-control.
Yeah,
because
I know.
He's been told and punished, and I've yelled, no, Bruce, no, because of the barking.
Yeah.
So he grabs a toy in an effort to
Control
suppress
himself?
the barking urge.
Oh,
so
he
instead, then he's doing the...
When he goes, I've never seen a dog in my entire life move his head back and forth faster than Bruce.
Dude, the fact that he doesn't have like a severe neck injury at all times, just like the ultimate crick in his neck, is a modern miracle. It's literally, he just...
And you would think, like, it doesn't make any physical sense because the toys are weightless. But if it was like a heavy bone, he'd be like shaking it back and forth, have some leverage there. Dude is just, he must have a neck of steel. He's using that Jawser size thing. Have you seen the...
He's powerful,
ads?
man. He's got powerful neck muscles. Weighs 10 pounds. That's the funniest part of it.
He's a beast.
He's a 10-pound...
Terrifying beast.
Little bear.
Half White Walker.
Now time for some announcements and shouts. The original PlayStation came out 25 years ago today. That is neat.
Shouts.
You can watch our show on youtube.com/Bolen Media if you don't want to just listen. youtube.com/Bolen Media. We're waving at the cameras right now.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. If you also want to watch us play video games with podcast listeners and interact with all of our viewership on Twitch, you can do so Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. Central. New schedule, no more Mondays. We're not doing back-to-back nights anymore. Detrimental to Cole's and I's sleeping and general productivity of the week when we start off Sunday, Monday, back-to-back, especially with recording a podcast Monday, then streaming Monday night. So Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Central moving forward. We're live on twitch.tv/BossRollin. And that, Coles, what's up? I heard you.
No, I didn't have anything.
Oh.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
I tried to predict. That will bring us to our first segment. First day of school with Drake's son. So this morning, rapper entertainer Drake put up a photo of his son Adonis before his first day of school. This is Adonis, who was famously outed as Drake's son with porn star Sophie Brousseau, I believe it is, by rapper Pusha T. Everybody remembers. It was a famous hip-hop beef. And the reason we're going to talk about this is because just the photo itself is so absurd. It looks like a shot from, like, Richie Rich or something like that.
It looks like somebody that dressed their kid up for Halloween as, like, AI.
What the hell is Drake's Instagram name? Is it not just @Drake?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Champagne Poppy. It's definitely Champagne Poppy.
I forgot it is Champagne Poppy. He has 72 million followers, okay? But this photo that I'm holding up, and you can see it on the YouTube if you... It's not really focused, but just pull up his fucking Instagram. You all follow him already anyway. You've seen the photo, probably. It just says, first day of school, the world is yours, kid. And the kid is like, I mean, couldn't be more. He looks like a little hype beast kid.
He really does.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, how do I say this and be racially appropriate? I don't know that I can. He just looks a little ridiculous. Let me put it that way. And he's standing in front of a blacked out SUV that is clearly there to pick him up, to take him to school.
100%.
That looks like presidential style vehicular transportation. Okay.
The chauffeur to school is a power move, I have to say.
the
Especially
kids
to elementary school.
Got dope braids. But I mean, unless he's literally going to a school in Beverly Hills that's only for A-list celebrity children, he's going to stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And
well, Drake lives in Ontario, right?
I don't fucking
Toronto?
know.
Toronto.
Definitely not Ontario.
Yeah, Toronto. I believe it's Toronto because he's a Raptors fan, huge Raptors fan.
I also get he's like the face of their franchise.
Yeah.
I also get confused, and even was when they won a. Remember when they won a championship? Anyway,
Yeah.
It's Drake's kid, okay?
Yeah.
Drake. So I realize this is a real little boy, and I'm not trying to rip on a child or make this kid's life any harder than it should be. But look, man, if you put the kid on the gram and you have, 72 million followers, like you're asking us to talk about it, you're one of the most famous people on earth, and the story behind your child is absolutely bonkers. Like he had a one-night stand. A one-night stand. Everybody hears those horror stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy, he slept with this girl one night. She got pregnant. Now they're married. Like everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
Like who got somebody pregnant. Like it happens all the time. It's a common occurrence.
Yeah.
Okay? But a one-night stand with a C-list porn star.
And you're Drake.
And you're Drake. You're Aubrey Graham.
Yeah.
And then you don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And then
it
comes
outed.
out in a hip-hop beef.
By another rapper.
And one of my favorites, Pusha T.
Yeah.
But just a ridiculous, like a bizarre, just crazy. And now that being said, however seemingly bizarre from the outside looking in, this kid could have an incredible upbringing for all we know.
Absolutely.
All right? I don't know. And while surely he'll have unique obstacles in life considering his parental circumstances, like maybe they're great parents and maybe he overcomes them all, man. We don't fucking know this kid's life for real. We just see what comes out in the media.
Yeah.
Right?
But with Drake being his dad, I feel like the hardest thing for him growing up is going to have to be the very first impression of his personality to every single person he meets forever. Is that
you're
Drake
Drake's
is
kid,
his dad.
which is a very specific circumstance for a human being to carry throughout the course of their life.
And it only really applies to the children of like uber celebrities. Like this isn't just like NFL players' kid or NBA
but even then,
player.
like I went to middle school with Roger Clemens' kid. Okay, he was in my grade.
Yeah.
And with one of his, I think he has 4 kids. And they all their names start with K.
Oh.
Because of the strikeouts.
Okay, never mind.
Red flags, just fucking red flags left and right. But anyway, I was he was a decent dude. Roger was a cool dude. I'll just put it that way. I got nothing bad to say about the Clemens family. They were very nice people to me, my parents, everybody else in school, the whole community. They were awesome. All right, I'm not making fun of them. Although he did have a big ass like Ferrari bed, which I was like, not Roger. The kid I was friends with.
Oh, I wish
when
Roger
you spent the
would've had a
night,
Ferrari
like
bed.
you were in like the Batman mobile bed, and he had like a Ferrari bed. It was dope. It was ridiculous. Their house was insane,
This
bro.
is like middle school?
Yes,
Okay,
Roger Clemens was the highest paid like best pitcher in baseball. Okay?
Oh, okay.
It'd be like if you went to school with fucking. I'm trying to think of somebody right now who's
Like
just
Mike
like
Trout's kid?
Yeah, but nobody knows who Mike Trout. Like Justin Verlander's kid. If you went to
Okay.
school with Justin Verlander's kid right now,
Yeah.
or whatever, 5 years ago when he was in his prime, whatever.
Sure.
Actually, no. Roger was a little washed. He was partially washed by the time he got to Houston. So it'd be like dating or being in school with Verlander's kid, not dating him or her. I don't know what they got, a boy or a girl. Don't even remember. It doesn't matter. Congratulations to Kate Upton and Justin Verlander on the birth of their first child. I believe it was last year. Even Roger's kids got treated very differently. Like, very,
absolutely.
very differently.
Yeah.
Because it was a huge deal, and everybody in this private school knows that's Roger Clemens' kid. By default, you deal with what the effects of fame are as
Yeah.
a child. You are famous at your school. Your school's the only place that matters. It's the only place you deal with that's not home when you're a little kid. So you're literally a famous person as a child.
Absolutely.
Which is fucking bonkers. Most kids go through life like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. This is tight, though, and I want attention. Famous people's kids, like, you have all the attention.
Yeah. And, like, the thing about that, growing up with either some people that are extremely, extremely wealthy or, kids of some famous people as well, what you see is that nobody's ever going to do it. Like, even if they don't like them, they're never going to do anything to be on their bad side to their face because they want to have them on their good side. You know what I mean?
You're going to have a lot of sycophants. You're going to have a lot of yes men. Yeah, people who are just, basically they treat you a certain way because they want to be around you. They want to be able to use your situation.
Yeah.
Get all the perks. Everybody's going to want to be friends with this kid, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to want to get hooked up with shoes by his dad. Everybody wanted Roger Clemens signed baseballs. We all got them.
Yeah.
I mean, like I got a poster. It's in my garage where we do RossFit. I don't know if you've ever seen it in there, but like I've got a big ass poster from him signed. Like people are gonna want albums and shit. Like it's just gonna be
100%.
Crazy.
Like
it's just
early
gonna be
release
wild.
shit as he gets older.
Like being an A-list celebrity's offspring. Regular people's friends and family get salty and fall off when folks make like moderate money with no fame attached. Being the offspring of an incredibly wealthy and famous person and the money situation that creates and like and the people that do like again trying to use you, be around you, they want to come to your house, bro, because you've seen Drake's house. We've all seen the whole fucking thing now. It's insane. I want to go there. If I'm in this kid's class,
No, it looks like a museum.
I'm not going to shut the fuck up about how cool his braids are, how badass his outfit is.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm getting that invite.
And then also, even if the kids don't fully grasp the scope of who Drake is at the age that they're at now, because he looked like he was, I don't know, second grade, third grade, something like that, maybe.
I'll look how old he is.
Okay. He might even be younger than that. He might be like 3 or 4. It might be
He's
kindergarten.
2.
He's 2?
Well, he was born October 11th, 2017. So almost 3.
Does Canada start school when they're like 3.5? Maybe like preschool? Anyways,
They
the
got
parents are
daycares
definitely
and
gonna
shit, who
know.
knows?
The parents are definitely that's actually hilarious if that's what he wore to his first day of daycare. But
It's hilarious no matter what. He's
well, it
fucking
is,
2.
Yeah, daycare makes it just even funnier to think about.
This
it like that.
outfit from head to toe cost more than most, I'd say probably half the people listening right now, any outfit they've ever worn in their life. Serious.
Yes, no, that outfit definitely costs more than any outfit I've ever worn in my life. I guarantee you.
The kid looks sharp.
He does look sharp.
Okay, I won't lie.
No.
The hoodie is sick. I want the hoodie.
He looks fire.
Look, here's the problem. I'm a 33-year-old man, and I want this outfit. Which one of us is fucking up? Because one of us is fucking up. Perhaps both? I want the whole fit. This is some shit I would wear. In 3 months, this is what you're going to see me walking around like, except without the braids.
Can you go with the braids, though? I mean, we could be there in 3 months.
I got one braid done in a class in high school, all right?
Yep.
It hurts so fucking bad.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
No, it hurts.
Yeah. With the
My
close
white
grades-
ass scalp cannot handle that, dude.
No,
Pussy
they're very
scalp.
intense. They're very intense. But no, like, even the parents of the kids that are in Adonis's class are going to be like, you talked to Adonis today?
His
You
name
talked
is
to Donnie?"
Adonis.
Yeah. Which is kind of tight. That's actually a sick name. Adonis is very tight name.
Yeah, except that you're the only person on the planet with that name. And when you Google it, the first thing that pops up is the Pusha T song. No, it's probably not the first. I'll see what the first thing that pops up now. When you Google just straight up Adonis. Yeah, the Greek mythology, Adonis was the god of beauty and desire.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Which is an iconic name for the kid.
Just noting right now, do not name child after Greek god of beauty and desire on my little what not to name my first kid.
How long is that
notepad
list
I've
getting
got.
these days?
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
But this is...
But then again, it's 2020. We've seen a lot of what not to do in terms of naming their children.
Who is more famous than Drake? I was struggling with this.
Michael Jordan? Michael Jackson? But they're
Michael Jackson's dead.
He is.
He doesn't count.
Okay. Right now,
I don't think Jordan is more recognizable worldwide than Drake now. He's
the Jordan
aged out.
brand has to be.
The Jordan brand, which Drake is ironically signed to, but Michael Jordan versus Drake on a recognizability scale worldwide right now, I don't think Mike beats Drake.
So you're saying the Uvu Owl would be more recognizable than the Jumpman?
Ovo.
Ovo? Okay, the Ovo Owl would be more recognizable than the Jumpman.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm saying the face of Michael Jordan
Okay.
physically, and
Would be
Drake.
more
Who is a more famous person?
Okay,
I think
would
it's
say
Drake.
Drake there.
And I'm trying to think, like, I mean, there are movie stars like Leonardo DiCaprio, like A-list celebrities like Brad Pitt, but are they more recognizable than Drake?
I don't think they are.
Because that's the thing.
music transcends. I don't think movies transcend the same way music does. That's why the only thing I
Through
can think
the
of would be...
ages and
yeah.
through like from like a 10-year-old to a 70-year-old. Like,
That's what I was thinking.
'cause,
LeBron
look,
James.
everybody from like
LeBron maybe
yeah
up there.
LeBron's
Because the NBA is just like the only sport we have that's really worldwide, and LeBron's like the face of the NBA right now.
in America, it's the most popular worldwide sport we have. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like,
I think at least.
Well, football is definitely not more popular worldwide.
Because they've focused so much on
I mean,
the
soccer
international
is
thing.
technically more popular worldwide, but we
Well,
don't
but
have
that's
any...
not our most. It's not
No,
one of our
no.
most popular sports.
No.
It's like fourth
So
or
I'd
fifth.
definitely say it's the NBA.
Yeah.
Maybe LeBron. Maybe
I'm just saying that's
The Rock.
Yo, he puts up this Instagram photo, right? TMZ, Elle Magazine, Billboard, People, Daily Mail, E! Online, Yahoo, E! News, every single one of them.
Cristiano Ronaldo is definitely the most famous person on earth.
Yes,
Worldwide.
there you go.
Worldwide.
Who I went on my honeymoon with.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Still the
Good
fucking,
friends.
still
Great
the most
friends, right?
bizarre shit that's ever occurred in my life. I'm
I
serious.
just looked up who has the most Instagram followers, and he has 360 million.
Okay, so Cristiano, there's your more famous person.
But
I watched him play soccer with his kid. Speaking of famous people and their kids, on the beach for a full week.
how's that? Was that surreal?
Mind blowing.
Is he just like...
I just mostly stared at his thighs rippling in the sun. In the sun, I
He's
was
got
like,
some-
"What the fuck?"
The soccer players have some the most non-chicken legs of all time.
I'm
They
just
got cannons.
I'm just gonna tell this story very quickly again because I've told it on here before, but I'm telling it again. So Cristiano Ronaldo was at the place that I went on my honeymoon. All right, and it was bizarre. He's there with like 15 members of his family, his kid. He does not have a wife. He had broken up with Irina Shayk, whatever the fuck, one
Sure.
of the supermodel. He's been through a few, and so he's just on vacation with his fam. Okay, and his best friend, his best friend. And
How do
that's
you know
all
this?
I'm gonna say about that. Because this is his they got paparazzi all over together.
okay,
They're
sure,
like
sure.
this is his boy on the sideline at every game.
Oh, sure.
It's weird and
Just like his number one hype man type
just
of thing.
so fucking close they are.
'Kay.
That's all I'll say.
All right.
And this dude Cristiano is in the tiny European style bathing suit, not a
Yeah.
Speedo,
yeah.
but like the real. I mean, there's
Really
like not. It
tight.
might as well be a fucking Speedo.
Yeah,
It's
really tight.
somehow
it's
almost,
like a Speedo, but it's like 2 inches longer on the sides.
Yeah, but it's somehow almost more revealing than a Speedo could
Okay.
be, somehow. And he'd come out to the beach, and he would stand
wide leg.
right at the break of the water, right? In his little stance,
Yeah.
like hands on his hips, fucking just standing like statuesque, okay?
Yeah.
And he would stand there literally one of the days. He stood there for like 20 minutes without moving. And I was like, what the fuck is he doing? And of course, the whole beach is just...
Oh my God, that's Cristiano Ronaldo.
This guy pumps, like for sure works out. And then so like, I mean, I never figured it out, right? A few weeks pass. And then I'm Googling Cristiano Ronaldo, what is the name of the island? It's where the Atlantis is, Paradise Island.
Sure.
And to see if any photos had popped up, because there was stories about him going to the nightclubs at night and like at the casino and shit. And I never saw him in any of that, but just he was in my resort on this beach, very private.
Did you ever have
there were,
any
dude, I'm
interaction
talking about
at all?
20 people. Like
Between
there
you
are
and
20
him?
people,
Oh,
10
at
of
your
them
resort.
on the beach.
Okay.
Every day, 20 people on the beach, nobody near our resort except for our resort people, 20 people, and 10 of them are Cristiano Ronaldo and his family.
Did you ever have any sort of interaction,
No,
eye
no,
contact,
bro, no,
wave?
you weren't allowed to.
Will
no.
not even get close?
Did
somebody say
there's
something?
security all over this
Oh, okay.
fucking resort already.
Yeah.
And when they have an A-list celebrity and when they have the most famous person literally in the world there, they
make
like
it clear?
if you stood too close to their group, they would come say, it's like, sir, you got to move away.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like you couldn't even be like, nah.
100%.
They had to interact with you
Yeah.
if you were going to get any interaction. You could not come up to him and say something. They would tell you straight up, like, don't do that again.
Yeah.
Which is wild, because you're a paying guest.
Yeah.
And he's just another normal paying guest. But this is a place like, and again, it was my fucking honeymoon. I'm not used to being at places like this.
Yeah.
But it was just bizarre because like they literally somewhere that nice. They have a totally different policy for celebrities.
So why was the
sorry. So like 2 weeks later, I'm Googling it and I Google Paradise Island, Cristiano Ronaldo, and there are like 50 photos of him in that stance.
Yeah.
And they're paparazzi pictures.
So he was just posing for...
There were no paparazzi at this resort.
Okay.
They couldn't have come within a mile of this place.
Okay.
He hired his own photographer to take photos of him incognito, I'm doing air quotes, at the beach, and then sold them to the paparazzi. That's the game for people who are that famous. They can do their own paparazzi shit and sell it as like to the paparazzi. Which is crazy.
That's insane.
So he had some dude posted up somewhere, and that's why he was posed like that, to get a fuckload of photos to slang to the paparazzi. That was it.
Incredible.
Who knows what he gets to charge for that shit? It's probably bonkers money.
He
probably paid for the fucking trip for standing there for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
For the whole goddamn family. It was insane. Like, it was just like one of those moments where I was like,
holy shit.
there are literally people on the planet that are that famous that's a thing.
Yeah.
But and again, it took me 2 days of the honeymoon to process what was happening. Like, that he was there, that it was...
that's literally insane. Like, I genuinely don't know. That's one of those things that the odds of that happening are so fucking minuscule, and that's an iconic story. Like, I don't think a lot of people in America realize how insane that is. Like you just said, be within walking distance of Cristiano Ronaldo. If anybody in Europe saw, like...
Dude,
he was like Michael Jackson at his prime in America.
So one point he wouldn't venture far from the resort, okay? Unless it was night and he was going to one of the restaurants or whatever. Like, he was staying on our little spot of the beach. Yeah. But at one point he goes on a walk, all right?
Okay.
So he's outside of the realm of the security of the resort.
Just by himself?
I think it was with one other guy or a family member. And when he makes his way back, well, first of all, when he went on the walk, I did the thing you're not supposed to do, and I got a picture of him between my legs. So I had one leg up, right?
Yeah.
Like, posted in my beach chair, and I snuck it between the legs. So, like, in the photo...
do you have one photo?
You can see my leg, and it's, Cristiano Ronaldo's on the other side of it. Like, that's 30 fucking feet away, and you can't even tell it's him, but he's got his bright orange shorts on. These same shorts from all the paparazzi photos, I would add. It was from that day. So, the walk back, we see him making his way back.
Yeah.
And I'm down in the water, like, snorkeling around, being a dumbass or whatever. And I see him on his way back, and there's a kid, full sprint. I'm talking full sprinting down the beach that had recognized him, that had seen him, because he must have walked far enough to where he hit another area. And this is like a local kid. This is not a tourist. And I'm talking, he was never run faster in his entire life, never will again. And he had like a fucking coconut. some shit that he like saw Cristiano and was like, fuck, need something for him to sign.
Yeah.
And grabbed it and booked it.
Yeah.
And he got shut down so hard.
Oh, no.
Not by security. Straight up by Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, he turned around and like waved him off and was basically like, get the fuck away. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. If I was him, I'd probably have done the same thing. And he was walking right back up to the resort.
Yeah,
and he's not trying to bring people into the resort, and I get that.
And also, like, when you're on vacation with your family, when you're
bro.
that famous, that has to be
his boy.
Yeah.
I believe it was his son that he was on this walk with.
Yeah.
Just a little boy. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know this motherfucker. He doesn't know what he's got in his pockets.
And they probably came to that specific resort in that specific area with that type of security
to not be messed
feel
with.
like a normal family.
Yes.
At least as close to that as possible.
But it was just crazy seeing this kid
Yeah.
like, Cristiano. And he was like, I don't speak fucking Portuguese or Spanish, whatever language version of whichever. He was telling him like, fuck off. Like, he
Yeah.
was like waving him off, turned around and was like, no.
Yeah.
And the kid stopped and was just like, he did the sad like Snoopy fucking Charlie Brown, George Michael from Arrested Development walk, like all the way back down the beach, dude. Just like the saddest kid in the world. Anyway, how did we get to the famous people? So yeah, being Drake's kid is right there, though, man. Like, that's one of the most famous people on the planet.
I would say in North America for sure.
At the very least, you're going to have the dopest childhood photo album probably of all time when you get older.
It's going to look absolutely iconic.
Like, my childhood photo album looks like, typical American 80s growing up, 90s, early 90s.
Or even a really, really rich person that grew up 30 years ago.
The photos are shit.
I mean, there would be like film photos and there would be some, but not like today. Like now he's going to have, by the time he's 18, he'll probably have accumulated 5 million photos at least.
The rest of his life
that
is
are
going to be trying to
quality.
come up with a fucking Instagram post and caption that's cooler than the ones that exist from him as a child. That's challenging.
Literally. Yeah. Does he have his own Instagram yet?
I hope not. He's 2.
Yeah, but I mean, you never know. Those famous children these days.
I don't even think I would put up pics of my kid, straight up. If I was as famous as Drake, I don't think I'll put up pictures of my kid and I'm me. Like, if I was Drake, I don't think I would put my kid out there like that. That's just my personal judgment on the situation. That is so much exposure, dude.
Do you know the YouTuber Casey Neistat by chance?
I do not.
He's a very famous YouTube vlogger. He's from New York now, lives in LA, but he doesn't show his kids' faces at all in any of his Instagram posts, anything like that. Like, he'll show his kids or like the back of his daughter's hair or something like that, but never their face or anything like that, so they can't be recognized.
I'm a fan of that move, just because that's 72 million people
that know what your kid like. That's like
know
kind
exactly
of, but, like,
what
listen,
you look
that's
like.
Like a little scary, like for Drake to be that rich, and
you are very like you, dude. You drop this kid in a crowd in any city in the world, and he stands out like a sore thumb. Like, he's a specific looking motherfucker.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if I see that kid in 15 years, just based on the few photos I've seen of him as a child, I'm gonna recognize, dude.
Could you imagine having to have security around you your entire life?
And in the rap game, and with all the shit he talks, and with
That's
the
what I'm
way,
saying,
like,
dude.
that's so much
I mean,
exposure.
think about it,
That's what I'm
organized-
saying. I wouldn't put up the photo.
That's what I'm saying. Like, organized crime, like, you could make millions theoretically, like, doing something.
Kidnapping
like,
is a problem,
and
bro.
that's an issue, especially in 2020. And
It's a
that's a
problem.
scary thing for the entire world to know exactly what your 3-year-old son looks like. I don't know. It's crazy, crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, best of luck to Adonis. And
Hope he
Adonis,
stays safe out there.
Adonis
and
Graham. It's
good
because
luck, good luck to him.
it's gonna be a tough ride, but I'm rooting for something about this kid. I've got faith.
I think he'll turn like.
I think he's gonna be all right.
Hope so.
I think he's gonna be all right. RBP 330 is brought to you by Birddogs, makers of the most comfortable all-purpose shorts in the fucking world. You can literally wear them to do anything, anywhere, at any time. They're gym shorts with a built-in silky soft inner liner that makes underwear obsolete. And now they make pants with built-in underwear and without it. If you're afraid of change, you fucking coward. The most breathable, summer-friendly golfing your dick off pants you've ever owned. Perfect for the golf course, the office, or a nice meal out on the town. They look great, and nobody will even know you're 1,000 times more comfortable than they are in your Birddogs pants. They are shockingly comfortable. Feels like you're wearing nothing downstairs, like you're just walking around with a top on and no bottoms like Winnie the fucking Pooh. They dry faster than a bathing suit. Birddogs, you can hit a workout, jump straight into the pool, get out, dry off in the sun, then wear them to drive around in your Tesla because you have a Tesla now, then drive that Tesla back home and wash it with your golden retriever Elvis because you're wearing Birddogs. And bitch, you can do anything. Go to Birddogs.com. Enter the promo code RBP when you check out, and they will throw in a free pair of nunchucks. Nunchucks are back. Birddogs.com, code RBP, boom, free nunchucks with your order. Enjoy your Birddogs. You will never want to take them off. They're a safe space for all your most valuable possessions. Next segment, serial killers you haven't heard of. Today's show is fucked up.
Quick switch up right there.
It's fucked up, but it's been too long since we did a serial killer on this podcast. And as we know, if you forget history, you're doomed to repeat it. So here's to avoiding more serial killers in the future by learning about the psychos of the past. Today's serial killer you haven't heard of. It's one that Cole's brought up to me this morning.
This was suggested by a listener, actually.
Shouts to the listener who threw out Dean Corll. That's not the listener's name. That's the serial killer's name. I want to be clear. Now, some of you, particularly those of you from Houston, Texas, like me, but who are old enough to remember, which I am not, may know who this dude is, Dean Corll. And those of you who watched Mindhunter on Netflix, which I did, may have heard about Dean Corll as well, but he's otherwise known as the Candyman or the Pied Piper. But the Candyman alone, probably one of the better serial killer, monikers, nicknames, in terms of fear-striking, fear-inducingness, is that a word, in the history of serial killers.
Oh, absolutely.
The Candyman,
terrifying.
Bro?
Is this where the trope of the Candyman, free candy?
Came from?
Yeah.
This guy in particular?
73's long time ago. Also, shouts to Savannah. That was the listener, just to give her credit. Thank you, Savannah. But also, I feel like the timeline would add up.
When I think in 1970, that's still 30 years ago to me for some reason because I frame everything up in the year 2000. That's 50 fucking years, bro.
Okay, actually, I do the same thing. 50 years ago? That's kind of insane.
1970 is 50 years ago now.
That's a long time. Holy shit. So,
a shit ton of people don't live to be 50.
No, correct. That is insane. The 50 or the 70s were crazy, a crazy time. So much has changed. Dude. Yeah, because in the 70s
they didn't have any of the inter-county communication that you need.
They didn't have that. They also didn't have cell phones didn't exist at all, and they told their kids just go do whatever.
Play in the
People
street.
Were still hitchhiking all the
doors
time.
Unlocked.
Yeah,
it was
doors unlocked.
It was really bad. Honestly, one of the reasons that I started podcasting was because one of my favorite shows. I only listened to a few. It was Serial. I listened to a Game of Thrones podcast, and I listened to My Favorite Murder, which is it's a podcast by two women talking about a different serial killer every week.
Yeah,
that was the show. Every episode, they would talk about a different serial killer. Each of them would bring one, and they would do pretty much what we do, which is basic Wikipedia research, and sometimes they would go more in depth. Now, this is back when I was listening years ago, probably 3-4 years ago. I'm sure they do their show a little differently now. I'm not sure how it's progressed. But it became one of the most popular shows in the world.
Absolutely.
They did a nationwide tour. It's Georgia Hardstark, and I always forget the name of the other chick. But it was one of the reasons that I ended up wanting to do podcasting because they were so casual. It just showed me damn, I think I could do this.
Yeah.
No offense to them. They obviously do a phenomenal job and have a much, 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 much bigger show than we do. Not that that's a way you judge each your shit, but I'm just saying they've clearly had great success. But yeah, that was just one of the original reasons that I wanted to get into podcasting. The serial killer shit, just for whatever. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to talk about a human being who was so broken and sick that they ended multiple lives.
Yeah, absolutely. The fascinating thing to me was so the one we're doing today. Did you say the name yet?
Yeah.
Dean
Corll.
Dean
Corll.
The fascinating thing to me is that the show Mindhunters on Netflix does a really great job showing this, is how repetitive the patterns of upbringing are.
Oh, there's so many of them. There's a checklist.
It literally is a checklist. It's this happened. It's and then by the end of the show, they're asking these killers, they're oh, did this happen? They're oh, yeah. Did this happen? Yep.
Like most of them were
Yep.
sexually abused or physically abused by a family member.
Most of
them started
came from
killing
a
small
broken
animals
home.
when they were young. Dealt with like alcohol or drugs in some way, shape, or form. Like there are all these like every single fucking serial killer hits one of these fucking things. In terms of the historical serial killers, anyway, I think this has changed moving into like into the modern day with mass shootings.
Sure.
It's a different type of ball game.
Yeah.
And it's just not the same. That's not talking about the same. These are guys who spent years, decades in some cases, stalking, hunting, and killing people. Not
Yeah.
like one individual instance of a meltdown or a planned attack.
Yeah.
This was like a
This
lifestyle.
was methodical. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were actively living in a way that was evasive of the police and hiding what they were doing. It was almost
From
they
their
almost
family. A
found
lot of them
thrill.
had fucking full-blown normal lives.
Yeah, like
and then
look
these,
at Bundy.
Yeah, the crazy. And anyway, that's what makes them such fascinating figures to study, like how these things come to be. Because
It's
look,
almost like a switch too.
when you think of a serial killer, just from like a basic standpoint, you think evil, right?
Yeah.
One of the most evil humans to ever walk the earth. And there's obviously no excuse for murdering anyone, but for murdering a bunch of people, obviously there's no excuse. But what you find in every single circumstance is like nothing happens without a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these serial killers are the result of a lot of really bad shit happening.
Yeah.
Usually to more than one person.
Yeah.
And it culminates into like a shitty relationship that a kid pops out of that's just pure toxicity. And then from there you have people like Dean Corll pop out who are just not great. So he was an American serial killer who abducted, raped, tortured, and murdered at least 28 teenage boys and young men between 1970 and 1973, which is only a 3-year stretch, and that's a shit ton of kids in Houston, Texas, which is where I'm from and which is crazy. And we've had multiple from Houston, man. Multiple
Also-
serial killers, and they're all from this fucking time period.
Also, trigger warning for this entire segment. real
Obviously,
quick.
yeah, this
Just
is
to
really fucked up.
clarify.
Especially because Corll was aided by teenagers. He had
Yeah.
2 teenage accomplices, David Owen Brooks and Elmer Wayne Henley. These crimes became known as the Houston mass murders. They came to light after Henley, one of his accomplices,
Yes,
finally snapped or whatever and shot Dean Corll.
at 17 years old.
And upon discovery, this Dean Corll and this example with his 2 accomplices, David Owen Brooks and Elmer Wayne Henley, it was the worst example of a serial murderer in United States history at the time. So when this got broke, this was the worst example of it that had occurred at that point, which just shows the disturbing. I mean, that's crazy. That's wild. No one else at that point had done a more disturbing job of killing people. His victims were typically lured with an offer of a party or a lift to a succession of addresses in which he resided. He usually restrained them either by force or deception. Each was killed by strangulation or shooting with a .22 caliber pistol. And they buried 17 of their victims in a rented boat shed.
Yeah,
I don't know how you get to 17. Like, I feel like you run out of room after a few. They must have just been getting them down to bones or something. This just fucked up.
It wasn't great at all. Yeah.
4 others were buried in the woods. 1 was buried on a beach in Jefferson County, and at least 6 were buried on a beach on the Bolivar Peninsula.
Yeah,
So they were moving these bodies around.
absolutely.
What?
It was all within like a 3-year period as well.
Yeah.
I want to say, maybe a
And-
4-year period.
3 years, 1970 to 73.
Yeah. Which is unbelievably insane. And 28 is the confirmed number.
Which is never especially with the 70s ones, you never get the actual.
I mean, there's pictures, there's Polaroids that exist of victims that their bodies have still yet to be identified or found. There's also, they've found bodies that were never identified name-wise.
Again, they didn't have the science, the technology, the tracing, all the shit that we do now that makes it. And a lot of these guys would admit to they'd get arrested, cop to 3, and then or whatever. It depended. Some of them would cop to 3,
Or
and
some
there'd
of
be
them-
40 other ones that people thought they did that they don't get convicted of.
Or
Or they'll get brought in for 1
and they're
be
like, oh no, I did 70,000.
I killed these 67 people,
Yeah.
and here's where a bunch of the bodies are. And
then
then
they
they'll go
can't-
find a bunch of the bodies, but not some of them, and it's always
and
this
they're
weird
like, are you
thing.
making things up? Yeah, the mind of a serial killer is very much quite fascinating, especially in the psychological standpoint. But Corll was from Fort Wayne, Indiana, then went into the Army for 10 months, actually.
A lot of them served in the military too, which is weird.
And that was his first experience with any blatant homosexual encounters. Was in the Army. He was honorably discharged 10 months later to go
A lot
work
of them
for
were
his...
closeted gay men, too.
Exactly, yeah. 10 months later, he was discharged and because he wanted to go work at the family candy company. So that's what got him to Houston.
The family candy company.
Yeah, his mom and dad were also married, then divorced, then got married again, then divorced again.
Oh, that was good for him.
And then his mom, when she remarried, that's when they gave up the candy company, and so he became an electrician. When he became an electrician, that's when he started his friendship with David Brooks. He would pay David Brooks occasionally to basically do things to David Brooks. That escalated into paying David Brooks to bring him people and other teenage boys. And then
they groomed this other dude.
They groomed this other dude who they had originally brought in as a victim. Corll actually ended up liking his presence, and they brought him on it. It took him months and months of convincing. Eventually, he was convinced. His name was Henley, Elmer Wayne Henley. They would pay Henley about $200 for anybody that he could bring to Corll.
Sounds like actually a lot of money then.
Which it was quite a bit of money.
Especially
but
for a kid.
Henley was against it at first, eventually became more and more sadistic, eventually participating in some of the murders himself. And then it all went bad when Henley brought two people to Corll's place on 2020 Lamar Drive. One male and one female. The female's last name was Williams. Corll was so upset that Henley had brought a female that he tied all three of them up and was going to kill Henley along with the other male and female. Eventually, after about 30 minutes of argument, Henley convinces Corll to untie him because he wants to participate in the torturing and killing. And as he is beginning to cut the clothes off of the female, William, she looks at him and says, "Is this real?" And he says, "Yes." And she says, "Well, are you going to do anything about it?" And that's when Henley snaps, decides that he's had enough, grabs Corll's .22 caliber pistol, shoots him once in the forehead, which doesn't fully penetrate his skull, but knocks him against the wall, shoots him twice in the shoulder, and twice again in the back as he falls down the wall. That's when Corll is officially killed. They then call the police. The police show up, and that's when Henley and Brooks are both brought in. Both are currently serving life sentences, multiple life sentences.
Damn, yo, they have a photo of this fool, Dean Corll, butt ass and dead on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
that is some shit, and a very detailed accounting of like that exact what you just gave us, basically.
Yeah,
which is just wild. They typically don't have that level of detail to the
police came right
from these
after.
Times.
Yeah, the police came right after. But
and
the
then
Houston
he spilled
PD,
everything and told him everything.
He told him everything. The Houston PD got a ton of flack for this case because they consistently said the boys were just runaways or hitchhikers, and parents were coming up to them and saying, for example,
looks like it was a Pasadena police department.
The Pasadena was the police department.
The arresting police department.
The arresting police department.
But then HPD was the one people were critical of because they called them runaways.
Instead of actually investigating the crimes, when in some circumstances, even two brothers of the same family were killed by Corll.
Ah. What a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
A lot of sickos out there, folks. Got to keep your head on a swivel.
There's your serial killer you haven't heard of today.
Dean Corll.
Learn and grow.
Next segment. Who are these podcast thoughts? I didn't really want to give these crazy bitches any more run than they've already gotten from the social media monster, but in case you were unaware, there is a podcast called No Jumper. Thoughts Next Door.
That's what it is, yep.
That has gained some notoriety lately for spilling gossip on big celebrities, musicians, athletes, and the like. They most recently gained headlines because they had this woman on.
Who I believe is one of the hosts originally. Are you talking about the first clip or the most recent?
I'm talking about the Odell Beckham alleged Cleveland Steamer situation.
Hit it.
Which, by the way, couldn't be more funny. And I told Coles this morning. He plays for the Cleveland Browns, okay?
Yeah, which already.
They've got this self-described thought, on this podcast saying that Odell Beckham Jr. likes to have women defecate on him, basically. Odell Beckham Jr. being one of the most famous receivers and professional football players and professional athletes in the world, which is obviously a big deal. just based on the headline. That's a funny story that you want to read, or an interesting story that you want to read, or whatever you think of it.
On the internet these days, the more ridiculous, the better, and the more mainstream. Because Odell is
the better the combo. The more mainstream and then ridiculous combined, the better the story is in terms of numbers.
And virality.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter fact checking out the window.
Nope, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter where
cares.
the source comes from, as long as it's
Which is a
ridiculous
hilarious
and viral.
part of this when they're telling the story. That one of the hosts just goes allegedly, just throws it out. Just
allegedly, we're trying to avoid lawsuits in this.
Which is hilarious because they're they're definitely getting sued. You just can't throw out shit like this and not get sued.
She's
it's
gonna
just
have
not
to sell her Kristan doors.
It's like saying that like Emily Ratajkowski doesn't have an asshole or something. You just can't do stuff like that. Beckham Jr. Obviously, I don't think he's responded to this, but anyway, what you find, you see the headlines: Odell Beckham Jr. whatever Cleveland Steamer joke. Then you click, and what you find is this podcast, No Jumper Thoughts Next Door, might as well be the three most random bitches in the world sitting in a room, either like. But then there's like one. You said one of them is Chief Keef's baby mama.
The one that claimed this, that she was the one. So here's how it went. So she claims that it started by Odell, like asking her to send a picture of her while she's in the process, and she's like, "Oh shit, well I'll just do a video."
Which just from the start, look, I don't know about poop fetish people, but just from the start, I'm like, that sounds like bullshit.
Okay, but even besides that was my first red flag, because I was like, if Odell is confident enough in this fetish to be asking people over the phone, how the fuck has this not come out before?
And like, where's the screenshot of that conversation?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to do this outing him thing. If you're this chick, you're not deleting the Odell convos.
No, hell no.
So
there's
no explanation for that. And why you would like he needed to confirm. And then let me just say, the first thing you notice about these three chicks is that they're cartoonish looking thoughts.
Absolutely. So the one that claims this is Chief Keef's baby mama, who then went on to hook up with Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Also very famous rapper, infamously so now after being a rat. By the way, his album is not doing well. But yes, you look at them though and you're like, there is no fucking way Odell Beckham Jr. would lay a single finger on any one of these three chicks. And I mean that with no due respect. They're just grody. They
remind
look
me
like like if you made a fucking, again, a caricature of like a 2020 girl gone wrong. That's what all three of these they keep it. People are throwing up the meme of like the Men in Black cockroaches drinking coffee in the fucking kitchen or the office or whatever. But that's legit what they look like, though.
Is.
The one specifically telling this Cleveland Steamer story, especially.
She's wearing like low cut jeans with a thong on, with
pulled
like a
up real high so
that
you can see the side. But then like
it looks very 90s. It's not in style at all.
She's just not in great shape though.
Her shoes also they're fake Christian Dior's that
they're
say
spelled
Kristan doors.
Like I almost think that has to be Photoshopped, dude. That can't be
real.
That
they
they're
remind
that
me
bad.
of the Kanker sisters from Ed, Ed and Eddie. I showed Ross that earlier this morning.
I mean,
they give me those vibes.
Absurd.
These are also the same people that made headlines a week or two ago on the original No Jumper podcast for claiming that one of them went to a hotel room and hooked up with 7 members of the same NBA team in the same night.
In the bubble.
No. Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't know if it was. Regardless, say this is that one who I think that then allowed them to kickstart the No Jumper Thoughts Next Door podcast.
So is that a different podcast? Thoughts Next Door?
I think No Jumper is
a bigger brand.
I think No Jumper is hosted by a guy. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
But if even a single actually good-looking or socially capable celebrity has put their penis inside of or anywhere near one of these three podcast thoughts, they should be ashamed of themselves.
And also, it sucks for Odell too. Like
this guy's constantly got. Remember, there was like somebody put out a photo of a dude going down on them. A female put out this photo of a dude going down on them that had exactly Odell Beckham's hair.
Yeah.
Like 6 years ago.
Okay, but you got like literally there's a guy in Charlotte who's a rapper and he looks one of the things of his brand is that he kind of looks like Odell Beckham. Like he went to the Giants-Panthers game, that's where I met him, and was like dressed with the Odell hair and like waved at Odell and it went viral for that.
Okay.
Do you want to look it up?
No, but what does that have to do with this?
That a lot of guys want to look like Odell right now. He's getting shit like I'll let you.
Everybody
finish
thought that was him. I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it's again like fame. That sucks. That's unfortunate.
Like, imagine
it really doesn't matter what he
waking up.
says. Nobody gives a shit.
That's
it's
what I'm
trending on
saying.
Twitter. It's on trending on Instagram. Every single blog and podcast and platform.
Like, he'll
picks
probably
up the
make
story.
a statement, and it's just gonna go
but
into
then
the wash.
you see the video, and dude, it's literally like if you and me went and got a homeless guy off the street and brought him in here, and we were like, "Hey, man, make some outlandish claims about some A-listers, and we'll see what's what." Like, that's the equivalent of the credibility of these three women. So it's fucking wild to me how many. Like, we're so bored. We're just so bored in 2020 that we just need any fucking stupid story. Bring it to us. We'll run with it. Odell Beckham allegedly being a huge fan of Cleveland Steamers, not something that I thought would be circulating in the 24-hour news cycle during an international pandemic. But here we are, which brings us to our next and final segment. NFL football is actually happening? I'm going to be frank. I gave the NFL season like a 5% chance of actually occurring once COVID proved to be somewhat of an issue for like Major League Baseball especially. Yeah. Because it just seems football like the sport where grown men tackle each other and sweat all over each other and spit in each other's mouths and caress each other's grundles in exchange for pigskin-covered sports balls. That doesn't actually stand a chance of occurring during an international pandemic that spreads through spittle and droplets of sweat and the like. But we are literally just over 24 hours away from week 1 of the NFL season starting. Like, it is happening. It is here.
I don't want to understate the turnaround in Ross's mentality. When I first arrived in Austin,
I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, no, it was a literal, Chris, stop getting your hopes up. The NFL is not happening.
He kept talking about fucking Cam Newton, and I was just like, dude, it doesn't matter.
It's not going to happen.
There isn't going to be football.
So for about a month, because I got here in mid-July, and until about late August, I didn't talk about NFL pretty much at all. And then like the last 2 weeks, I've been back on the grind again. And then like 2 days ago, I was like, Ross, we're like 3 days away from Texans football. And I think that was when it maybe kind of clicked in. And then today I was like, Ross, you know the Texans play tomorrow night. And he was like, holy shit, we're getting football.
Yeah, of course we have to open with my depressing, embarrassing, historically unsuccessful Houston Texans playing the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions. And they will get mopped. And, of course, the Houston Rockets play the Los Angeles Lakers in what will be Game 4 of that series the same night at the same time, a must-win game for the Rockets. And, of course, our next scheduled live stream on Twitch is at the same time that evening. If you don't tune in Thursday at 7 p.m. Central at twitch.tv/BossRoland to watch me completely derailed trying to watch the Rockets, Texans, and play Warzone or Fall Guys at the same time, then you are a fool who could be missing out on one of the great high points, but more likely one of the great low points of my entire life.
So how, like, say sadness to happiness scale, right? Let's say happiness is at 100%, full depression is at 0%. If, say, the Rockets win, the Texans lose, where you at? 60?
Oh,
70?
I don't care.
Oh, you don't care? You're at 100?
90, 100.
90? All right, good. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So we're just rooting for the Rockets, really.
I mean, look, if they both won, that's one of the best nights ever. If the Texans lose and the Rockets win, that's still a great night. That's still a great night. I wish I could I wish I could say I felt more positive about
Texans?
either the Rockets or the Texans. But regardless, there is money to be made with our sports betting sponsor, MyBookie.ag. Winning season has returned at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means Survivor, Super Contests, Squares at MyBookie.ag. And it's time to celebrate the return of the NFL season with some extra cash in your pocket if you sign up now and get your first deposit matched dollar for dollar, all the way up to $1,000. And while you're at it, grab yourself an entry into the famed MyBookie Super Contest. It's easy. All you have to do is pick five NFL games against the spread each week to have a chance at $100,000 in guaranteed cash prizes. The best part is MyBookie has thousands of bets to choose from over the full NFL slate and NBA playoffs, from live betting to championship futures. Every play you want to make is waiting on MyBookie. Make your picks, win big, collect your cash, use the promo code RBP, and double your first deposit now. It is a no-brainer. Winning season starts today, only at MyBookie.ag. By the way, the NFL, the way they got here quickly, with no bubble, like the NBA has a bubble. Everybody knows how they've pulled off their season and kept their players safe and all the things they put in place to get COVID-free, right? Or to avoid COVID as much as possible. All the quarantining they did for their players, et cetera, et cetera. The NFL has done an unbelievably good job, considering, again, the circumstances of the sport, and the lack of a bubble and the inability to do a bubble situation with 100 players on each team and 33 teams or whatever, and they've somehow gotten through without any real issues so far. On September 1st, they announced their latest COVID-19 monitoring test results, which covered the week of August 21st to 29th, and they got 4 confirmed positive tests among players and 6 confirmed positives among other personnel, so coaches and staff. That's only 10 total. And those numbers came from 58,621 tests administered to a total of 8,739 players and team-wide and league-wide personnel.
That's highly, highly impressive.
23,279 tests were administered to 2,747 players, and 35,342 tests were administered to 5,992 personnel. They are doing testing out the ass.
Quite a lot of testing. They also have been doing.
The more testing you do, the more confirmations you have. Sometimes I tell my people we should slow down the testing.
Too many tests.
What
so
books?
You can test too much.
What manuals?
Can you test too much? Are we testing
what were you
too
saying
much? Great job, NFL. That's what I was saying. I'm just stoked
They've
for
done a good
Panthers
job.
football to be back.
They've done a good job.
Fantastic job. They've been putting a lot of pressure on the players.
They implemented a special reserve list called the Reserve COVID-19 list in 2020 for players who have to be removed from the active roster because of the coronavirus. Just because a player is on that list does not mean he tested positive for the virus. That list includes both players who have tested positive and those who have come in close contact with somebody who has tested positive. The NFL and NFL Players Association established all these different rules to be able to pull this off. They use BioReference Laboratories, the same company that the NBA uses to handle all of their testing. And their protocol is basically this. If a player tests positive, he is asymptomatic, he can return after 10 days have passed since the initial positive test or 5 days have passed since the initial positive test, and the player receives 2 consecutive negative PCR virus tests at least 24 hours apart within that 5-day period. If a player tests positive and then does have symptoms, he can return after 10 days have passed since symptoms first appeared and at least 72 hours have passed since he last experienced symptoms. Also, no Mexico City, no London games this year, so none of the international ones. Just all around, I am impressed by what we've gotten out of the National Football League so far in terms of getting the season to start. Now, what will be a huge test is obviously what do things look like after week 1?
Yeah.
How many positive tests do we have? Are there any outbreaks? Because in the major leagues, in Major League Baseball, we saw multiple teams have outbreaks, where lots of people got it and games had to be canceled and shit. It'll just be interesting to see. It also feels like those adjustments will be easier for the NFL.
Yeah.
Because they can just throw that fucking game on Tuesday or some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
and
another
it's not
week.
They're playing all the time. They can bump
baseball's
it back.
constant. There's 7,000 games.
That's something I didn't even consider. I feel like, but even then, there's so many people on the roster that I guess it's justifiable in football that if one player tests positive or something like that, game's probably still going to go on. What do you think the threshold is for that? What if there's an outbreak of 7? 7 is a lot, but in the terms of a 53-man roster, you know what I mean? But that's a huge swing in a team if 7 players are gone, especially if there's 7 vital players.
If you have 7 guys test positive, that's the thing. I can't see a situation where you get 7 and not 50. You know what I mean? 'Cause
7 guys go out to a dinner and their waitress has COVID and...
Yeah, but
then they go
I don't
back
understand
to
how those
practice.
7 guys get back. Is it are you tested immediately upon entrance? There's immediate results, and then immediately you're quarantined?
I'm not sure.
That's just wild. Anyway, it's crazy situation that we've even gotten to the point where we have NFL football is
Thank God, I can't
wild. I'm excited. I'm glad I didn't draft that fucking fantasy team for no reason on a weekend from hell. That was fun. I'm just messing around. But obviously that was a lot of hours that went into that weekend occurring and doing the draft, and I need the football to actually occur, so that was worthwhile. You know what I'm saying? Also, again, our sports betting sponsor is MyBookie.ag, and use that code RBP when you sign up. And that will do it for today's show. But before you head out to take on the world, it's time for some very important announcements. First and foremost, you've been saddled with 3 legal obligations as a result of having listened to this entire podcast, the first of which is you must rate and review. Check that box, move on to number 2. Share the show with one person this week. Any one individual, friend, family member, coworker, neighbor, somebody you think would enjoy RBP, share the Ross Bolen Podcast with them. Check that box and move on to number 3, which is to support our sponsors, support the sponsors that are keeping this show alive, thriving, growing, and showing. Birddogs, birddogs.com, code RBP, and MyBookie.ag, code RBP. Follow us on Instagram at the Ross Bolen Podcast, on Twitter at Ross Bolen Pod. We're also on Facebook.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. My name is Ross Bolen, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WR Bolen. Catch me live Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/BossRollin', where, as I said, our next Twitch stream will likely be the most unhinged we've ever done, as I have to watch the Texans and the Rockets and play Warzone or Fall Guys with podcast listeners at the same time. Chris Coulson, where can everyone follow you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Q0ULS. You can find me on Instagram at ChrisSC99. And you can find me on Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON.
Check out Bolen Media's television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever the Ross Bolen Podcast is available. We are covering Yellowstone Season 1. Right now, we're covering Lovecraft Country on HBO and the return of Amazon's The Boys for Season 2, all on OCC, as we call it, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, formerly the #1 Game of Thrones podcast in the world. Again, available wherever you listen to RBP, and also brought to you by Bolen Media, hosted by myself, Ross Bolen, with my dear friend of 17 years, Mr. Barrett Dudley. And that will do it for RBP 330, produced by Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. We'll be back Monday with RBP 331, and of course, before then, Friday on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast with another exclusive premium ad-free episode for dues-paying members of the RBP gang, pledging their monthly support to help us do our thing. Just $5 monthly minimum pledge at patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through, support the show, get more ad-free, premium, exclusive RBP in exchange. You are not alone. Podmen get paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Peace be with you.
And also with you.